The first session of our Congress is titled Latin America and Genomic Medicine, Personalized and Stratified Medicine. We are excited and honored to be joined by our moderator, Dr. Mayra Calefi, volunteer president of the Brazilian Federation of Philanthropic Institutions in Support of Breast Health, Pharma. We will also have Dr. Carmela Oranges, Executive Director of Medical Affairs Cluster North Latam MSD, and Kawaldo Psami, CEO of IAPO. You can find their full biographies on the official first virtual Latin America Patients Congress page on IAPO's website. Before we get started, remember to use the Q&A tab so you can place every question you have to submit the questions to the speakers. You will find this in the right part of your screen. Now, I invite Dr. Mayra Calefi to the floor.
Estoy muy feliz de estar aquí con ustedes hoy. Meu espanhol vai até aí solamente. Entonces, vou cambiar
in Spanish. So now I'm going to switch languages. So please select the English translation.
Cavallo, you have been an inspiration for all of us, putting together a Latin America international group talking together about things that we are so closer to us. Well, I am a surgeon every day of my life for the last 40 years, and I'm very excited to be a moderator at this session because we're going to talk about personalized medicine. We're going to talk about this different standard healthcare that can see the patients much more in their own DNA, in the DNA of the tumor, in the tumor that we can really talk about personalized medicine. We're going to see all the benefits of patient centricity and also how we could perhaps bring this faster to our world, because it's very difficult for many countries to have this innovation right away. So really, patients' preference want this to come quicker. So we are going to talk now to Carmela, that I'm very excited to present, and as she has been introduced before, and she's from the Executive Director of Medical Affairs of MSD Latam. Please, Carmela, can you give us your thoughts about that?
Good morning, everyone. Can you confirm if you are hearing okay? Thank you for confirming, Stefania, and thank you, Mayra and Kawaldo Psami, for having me. It's a huge honor to be here and participating in the first virtual Latin American Patients Congress. As Mayra and Kawaldo and Liliana already mentioned, this is a marvelous opportunity. I graduated in medicine, so more than ever, patients started to assume a protagonist role. I'm talking about the decision-making process of their therapists and every opportunity they have in therapeutical processes. So I'm honored to be here in this session. So please, let's move to the next slide. The topic that Mayra mentioned, which is very important, it's specifically about the difference between how are we moving forward in medicine. What about precision medicine? What about personalized medicine? So I'm going to talk about those concepts. My presentation is in English, my deck of slides is in English, but I'm going to speak in Spanish. Let's talk about the concept of precision medicine. This is quite different to personalized medicine because in the past we talked about personalized medicine and it referred to adjust therapy to each individual. Precision medicine, it's a concept that includes the study of diseases and the possibility of adapting therapies in accordance with the genetic data, the environment, and also the information that we can get from each person. That way, we can access this phrase that you can see here that is key, the right drug for the right patient at the right time. And why am I saying this? Diseases behave different from one person to another. Medicines are different, and our organism will have different reactions to each medicine. Probably you're already acquainted to this when we talk about diabetes. Diabetes diagnosis, it's a specific failure in a specific organ, which is pancreas, and those patients will have a specific characteristic, diabetes type 1 or diabetes type 2. So how should we get started with the therapy? Let's make some adjustments in the diet. Let's get started with exercises and we can start a specific therapy. Some of the patients will have a reaction to those changes in their lifestyle. Others won't have any changes. So we need to start administrating medicine. In some other cases, we need to combine different medicines. So it will depend on the responses of our organism. And we need to learn how to understand or interpret those responses or those reactions. That's why genes studies or genetics is something very important. Also, having precision medicine will help us to individualize therapeutical processes, trying to reduce at the minimum these responses to the therapies. When we are assessing precision medicine, we are not only talking about therapy or treatments, we are also talking about other topics. So let's move to the next slide. So, as I was mentioning, we're not only referring to the treatment, but also genetic status, family cases, or family health history. So we need to assess genetic information, this individual, and the whole environment. Social media can help public health workers to track the disease. For example, infectious diseases. Right now, we have some personal devices that can help us check vital signs such as heart beating, and we can also use other devices to check specifically an electrocardiogram. Sequencing these genes will allow us to track other types of diseases, and we can have biomarkers. Biomarkers is something that we are implementing a lot in different areas of medicine, specifically in oncology during last years. And it was very helpful. And why is that? Because biomarkers status, it's about identifying proteins that are already present on cells and that are also allowing us to mark those cells containing tumors in a specific way that we can determine how this specific person will react to the treatment depending on the markers we're using. Some years ago, we had the general treatment such as chemotherapy or radiotherapy, and we started to distract the cells containing tumors, but also health cells. So now with biomarkers, we can direct the therapy specifically to those cells with tumors. Let's move to the next slide. Now we'll have a specific tests that will help us predict, treat, and improve the responses of individuals. Here we have some areas of precision medicine that are very recurrent in oncology, such as cancer immunotherapy. This was started 10 years ago and it had a great evolution. Now we're working on gene mutation for specific cancer genes using proteins, and we can redirect therapy in a specific way that we can attack specific tumors that are related to the adjustment of hormones. So we can use a specific therapy directed to this. And that's the only thing we're missing to start controlling tumor cells. We have also other biomarkers with other responses. So, as I mentioned before, depending on the reaction of the patient to those biomarkers, the doctor can specify which is the best possible treatment. Pharmacogenomics is the combination between pharmacology and genomics and genetics. So, as I already mentioned, we're going to study genes to check which are the possible medicines right now. And as I mentioned, we're not only talking about oncology, also about rare diseases. We have more than 7,000 rare diseases affecting 7% of world population. But this also means that we'll have a very important help that we can provide to those patients. Commonly, trying to get a diagnosis was a very difficult path, as it was described in different articles and different literature. But we want to have more tools right now. Let's move to the next slide. Let me give you an example because this is very important. How have we handled this considering traditional approach versus precision medicine? As I already mentioned, we cannot have one size fits all medicine. So we have a group of patients with a specific therapy. It could be patients from diabetes, oncology, or any other area. It will apply to this example. A specific group of patients will have a reaction to the therapy, but another one won't have any responses or reaction. Some will have collateral effects and others won't. And why is that? Because there is a genetic difference, there is a difference in the environment and different lifestyles as well. All those elements will produce different changes. So, how was medicine evolution? Right after considering everything, we started to stratify medicine. I already mentioned that. Those were the different steps that we have. So now we're going to identify per group the different patients that have a specific disease with different diagnosis, characteristics, different risk profile. Also considering demographics with specific socioeconomic factors that could impact the development of the disease and could also affect the adherence to the therapy and also clinical features. Who are those patients? How are they manifesting the symptoms? With every information, we started to evolve. And what is precision medicine offering us? As we have all this information identified and we have everything in an individual level, we have a specific diagnosis that will help us to have a more individualized therapy. We will have biomarkers, tests, and other trials that will allow us, starting with genetic information, that the patients that have a specific reaction to those biomarkers will have a better reaction or better response to specific type of therapy. This is very important because this will help us to get to know better some patients. In some cases, those patients know their own characteristics, but also decision-making persons in the health system, either public or private, will have the chance to decide in which trials they can invest because they need to decide which patients will have a response to that and I can increase my budget as a health institution to start buying necessary therapy and offer those therapy to the patients that need them the most. As you may know, we need a lot of economic investment to continue this development process. So we cannot forget about economic issues, but also we have different researches and studies going on in terms of technology and technology assessment that allow us to identify how much can we invest in diagnosis so we can also have a better distribution of our budget. And I'm only talking about public health. Next slide, please.
In this one, I want to talk about a really important concept, which is patient-centric. So patient is the core. And why? Because as I said before, if we have a treatment that is really useful, now the doctor is going to have all data and can say this patient is having this response, so they can choose between the options what the best medicine is for this specific patient so that they can have a best response. And in oncology, we are even talking about curing some patients. Next slide, please. Let me give you a quick example. This is an oncology example. So I know that you know about this, and organizations dealing with oncology, they have a lot to say about this. But what we saw in many countries in Latin America is that you have an evaluation. A patient comes because they have a symptom, or in some cases, they don't have any sign at the beginning. But the doctor needs to make an early detection. So they have different trials so that they can have a best diagnosis. Not only to say which type of tumor they have, if it can be treated, in which stage it is, that's included as well, of course. But the doctor needs to decide what the best alternative for this patient is. And now in oncology, we have neoadjuvant treatments. This is pre-surgery, so we can reduce the tumor size so that we can avoid metastasis and have a best result. So we can have neoadjuvant treatments, and then we have the adjuvant medicines. It can be chemotherapy, it can be, we can have different treatments. So the neoadjuvant treatments are really useful so that they can have a best response and avoid spreading the disease. It can happen in many cases. Many research was done about this, but we recognize that this is not always the case. On the daily basis, in some countries, this is not the reality. Now, next slide, please. I know we are running out of time, and I'm so excited to talk about this. I want to say so much, but I want to be respectful with the time. So now I want to talk about risk assessment, diagnosis, screening. So now with the medicine that we have, which is so precise, we can start to analyze the advances that we are having. And as you can see on the right side of the screen, many things are being implemented. Next slide, please, so that I can wrap up my part. And in oncology, as I said before, this is one of the areas in which we started to work. There are many possibilities in this area, many chances for us to evolve, and you can check the results here. Next slide, please. This is just to let you know how the evolution of lung cancer molecular characterization has been going. 20 years ago, we had adenocarcinomas being presented with a traditional diagnosis, and then we had a mutation, which is KRAS. And with this, we have a better diagnosis. In 2007, we started having a more precise diagnosis. We had many possibilities. We have PCR, immunotherapy. So as you can see today, the reality is better because now we can have genomic sequences so that we can determine the mutation, the gene, what's happening on the patient, and adapt the therapy. And now to wrap up, I simply want to share with you that precise medicine is going to help us make better decisions. Next slide, please. But it's also really useful the role that you can have as patients because it's so important for you to be educated, to read, talk to your doctor, and this is going to help us with the precise medicine. We need the patient to be involved, to have this power to say, I know about this, I know what the treatments are, help me decide what the best idea for me is. This is it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
This is very exciting, and I'm sure that if we make the patients understand, if we manage to get it, so we'll have a great task of beyond us because we need to advocate for that in our countries. But we're going to do it together under IAPO CEO's leadership. So I ask Valdip to jump in and to give us some north. How can we manage to get this benefit, all this benefit that is proving to be related to cure and better survival? No sound?
Thank you, Mara. I will just recollect and mention that when we were in Geneva at the World Health Assembly, Dr. Mara was with us talking to the Minister for Bhutan about humanizing healthcare. And at that stage, it occurred to me that both she and I were at the opposite end of the same issue. She was at the end when, because of lack of access to early liquid biopsies and diagnoses, the tumor had grown so bad and so big, and the only thing left was for her to cut it out. Yeah, I mean, like, for example, if you're seizing up breast cancers, you're seizing out other things, lungs, and that leaves enormous trauma. Because I was at the other end of things, that I left things too late because of lack of this diagnosis. I am a colorectal patient, and I had what is called APC, which is about they remove all your colorectal muscle, everything out, and I wear a colostomy bag. So I know that if this is available to me beforehand, it would have made so much difference to my life. So therefore, we were both on this. That Myra was looking at the human angle of this damage, and I was looking at the personal damage. And I think together we came onto this, and we said the first thing we must advocate is that every country should adopt precision medicine now. Let us not waste time on experimental things and other things, hit and miss. When we know precision medicine does work, and it works, it's applicable to many conditions. Yeah, it's about oncology, about diabetes, about others, and rare diseases as well. So therefore, we are advocating this at WHO and all the member states and at the WHO Assembly. Also within Latin America, we will be meeting after this whole event. We'll be assembling again to look at what statement we have to make at the WHO PAHO meeting which is happening in Washington, and we want to get a good position statement in there about precision medicine and why it should be part of that and why it is important for us and why we should be looking at investing in this heavily, because through this we can jump forward. Our systems can recover, because early diagnosis means that early treatment and better patient experience and better patient outcomes. And I think for mental health of the patient, the family, the carers, and even the health professionals, I think many health professionals, if you ask them, they always are traumatized when they lose a patient. And I think many surgeons as well will tell you that when somebody comes at such a late stage of cancer, it is almost, they have quite a reflective moment that I wish this had been caught early and this was avoidable. So from that respect, we think we should target our ministers, firstly through the WHO Pharma. The second, I think it's very important for us is to target individually the health system providers and to ask them to look at investing in these technologies, because these technologies have got enormous potential to add tremendous value first, but also the economy of scale. Can you imagine a world where most of the conditions will be caught very early on, and we can treat them very cost effectively without having to go into surgery or anything else, and we can treat them quickly, effectively, and bring them person back into economic and social life. I remember that when I went into surgery, I had a young teacher. She was only 25, and sadly, she was a late diagnosed case, breast cancer, and we lost her. And then, whilst I was at that hospital, the whole class came in. These are like the 30 children came in to visit her, and I was just thinking, we have just lost a great person. I wish she had been saved earlier, and therefore we must value this as such. And I think that was when my mind was made up that precision oncology, precision medicine is for us, and for us patients to put it across strongly. We do understand not all cancers can be treated with this. We must bear in mind that, but those which we can, let us treat them. Let us do it. Make sure that nobody suffers and nobody has to struggle. And I think I'll finish on the note that many of you know people who are used to going to a tailor to make a tailor-made suit. Their appreciation of what they're wearing is quite different to us who go into a supermarket to buy a suit or coat. So you know how precision medicine will become in the future, that everybody will be proud of the health system and proud they were treated differently and they were treated with great dignity, humanity, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Cavaldo. I think this is really takes us to the world that patients have in front of them, because this is taking too long sometimes to have access to personalized medicine. This is not so new. We had this idea, of targeting the drugs, targeting the tumors with some drugs in breast cancer for 10, 15 years now. And took Brazil 10 years to make that available to patients HER2 positive. And we still have problems with that because we have new innovation, we have other medication, and we're still stuck with the first one. So I bring Carmela and Caldiv together now, and I am not aware that we have questions right now. but I think, would you like to comment, Carmela, in Cavaldi's very personalized testimony that is really very touching? Please.
Sí. Thank you, Mara. I think that what you're mentioning is really important, and you are a specialist on breast cancer. So we have seen many things, and when we talk between each other, I had the opportunity talking in the pharmaceutical industry to know this other side with health providers, because sometimes as doctors we want to offer the best treatment to the patients. And what you said about breast cancer is a reality. We had a pathway of 15 years, but many times the patients go to the hospital with a diagnosis and they can schedule for a treatment in 6 months in the future or 1 year. And within this time, the patient is losing time. This is why education is so important. Last week, we had the Oncology Latin American Congress, and we've discussed breast cancer, negative cancer, and the results are amazing in cases that are so hard to treat with young women in reproductive years. But the reality and the results that we have today are going to help many, many patients. So the patient needs to be educated. They need to know what the possibilities are for treatment. But we also need to think about the technology, because them, the providers, people that are in charge of making the decision, they need to base their decisions in something that goes beyond budget. So we have the advances, and we need to think about how to make the best use of the budget so that the patient have a more free survival possibility. As I said before, with the cancer and immuno-oncology, we are talking about a cure. So it's so important to have a good communication and an effort, not only in research in the pharmaceutical industry, but also the communication with the patient and decision makers, so that they make the best decisions, so that they have consent and that they're based in evidence. I don't know if I answered your question.
Una pregunta, Paulina Arce Casillas. Is precision medicine a reality in any country in the public health system right now?
I'll take that.
Les puedo decir, perdón, Jenny, adelante.
No, sorry. Dr. Kamala, you go ahead. Yes.
Gracias, Kawaldi. Even though right now we are not in an ideal situation, the truth is that many countries in Latin America are making their best effort so they can improve health systems and receive more information. I'm in Panama, and I have experience working in my country, but also working with Venezuela. And I'm also accountable for a U.S. territory such as Puerto Rico. Let me tell you this. Many countries in Latin America or Central America or the Caribbean, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, have more or less the same reality. However, governments are working a lot and establishing dialogue so they can move forward and grant access for patients. So we're already working on this, but we have a lot of room for improvements, of course. This is our place as industry and you as a patient's organization to raise your voice.
Thank you very much, Mara, and thank you, Dr. Kamala, for this. We have launched in Middle East and as an alliance called the Personalised Cancer Care Alliance. And this alliance is working with the Gulf states, and many of the Gulf states have now adopted precision oncology. It is becoming part of reality. They're bringing it in stages and buying these new technologies. And we found out that to a larger degree, one of the reasons why this was not being adopted was because the buyers were not aware of it. The procurement officers were not aware of this. And I think we need to get to them. Many of these procurement officers were still tied to the old systems of ordering, small molecule issues. And many were actually sadly tied up to surgical interventions and, radiology and heavy duty sort of things. So they were like thinking in those ways. They were referring people into some very terrible care pathways. Where they have now accepted this in Saudi Arabia, they've started looking at this, they're bringing in. We want to set a similar alliance in Latin America, so we will be coming to you for that as well. The Personalised Cancer Care Alliance for Latin America. And we want Dr. Maya Khalifi and even Dr. Carmela and other strong advocates to join us to push this agenda through, because if we don't say anything, then nothing happens. Yeah? We have to say that. We have to raise the voice. And we must show as citizens as well. This is again the UK. We have now adopted precision oncology, personalized medicine, precision medicine positions because there was a willingness to adopt this, and we are willing to pay put our hand in our pockets and pay this to our taxes. There was a survey carried out by Cancer Research UK, and many people said, yes, we are able to pay an extra 2% in tax for doing this thing. And we said that this is very important for us as humanity. And this morning, I'm so pleased to announce that here, in order to improve access to liquid biopsies, early diagnostic skills, what they've done is they've authorized pharmacists to actually refer you directly to cancer diagnostic centers. So that if you come in there and you're coughing regularly, the pharmacist sees more of you and he will say, look, how many times have you been having this cough syrup? Your cough doesn't look normal. Let me refer you to cancer oncology. Like, go and see what happens. It may not be what you think, but if it is, then at least we can catch you. Similarly with the colorectal cancer, was that if your stomach is upset and you keep buying medicine to, settle your stomach, constipation or others, the pharmacist knows it. He will say that, sir or madam, can I refer you to there? Please do have a check. Now, very often the pharmacist does know his people very well, his people very well, and they can do it. But predominantly, I think it is for us to voice this. I think Brazil is ready for this. I mean, from a point of view of that Anvisa, the HTA body needs to be now approached. We should be approaching it regularly, asking them to undertake a review of this. We need to act together as one body. We should bring everybody in. For BRCA1 and BRCA2 gene, breast cancer genes, this is something that this issue has got a special gender issue. If we had a similar precision oncology treatment available for prostate cancer, you can bet the president and his cabinet would have approved of it next day. They would have said, yes, we will buy that because it is male oriented. So if it's women's cancers, they seem to be less reluctant to do it. We have seen this similar in Japan as well. Very often it comes in. So the gender issue is very important to bring in. So we have to now work together on this. And I think, as I said, the reality is the new dawn is breaking, and I think we must invest for better. Thank you.
I think countries or even ministers are very, they don't see as an investment and they see as a cost.
Yes.
I think for precision medicine, we have to start talking and we have to prove that it is a good investment. I think if we don't talk about money to our governments, or we're not talking the same language. And money doesn't mean to say the price of the drug. The money means to say how quality of life can be improved, how much this will give us in life, years of life, and so and so and so. So I think we've been repeating ourselves for a while now. So I think if Carmela, MSD, and the EAPO, Latin America, perhaps that is like a very, how can I say, it's more a unique problem. It's not like Europe that you have, German has more money than, here is more or less the same, and some countries are miserable, but none is very good in this respect. So I think this could be not only a way to bring us together, to fight together, and we can put our request to people like UICC that just launched the Atom Alliance, that MSD is involved. The Atom is access to medicine. And under that, it's not only essential medicine. We're not talking about the miserables. We're talking about life years saved, precision medicine to oncology. And I think this could be an agenda for us to push together with PAHO. Help PAHO should come and back us to make sure that we can talk to our ministers. Because in Brazil, we've been shut up in the last 3 or 4 years in the relationship closer because of COVID, because of many things, but we haven't been able to pair together and do try solutions, you see? So we have more questions here coming up. Some are comments. Maria de los Angeles Franco said, excellent presentation. The proposal is that medical care requires a medical update attitude, and above all, we want to attend to the patient for his total recovery. I think this was a comment was saying. There is another one from Dr. This is interesting, from a medical side of you, Dr. Aileen Catherine Palmeira Maya. Hello, my name is Aileen, and I would like, from Colombia, and I would like to see how could doctors be more aware of precision medicine. So we need to pay attention to that, because maybe the oncologists that go to ASCO, like other people like me that are in big cancer centers working in very good condition, we don't realize that even doctors don't have access to what it is precision medicine. So it's very important for us to do something about professionals, health professionals, how we're going to educate them for precision medicine.
Thank you, Myra. As you know, in Geneva, we were working with the World Medical Association and the what we call Family Physicians, WONCA. And as patients, we worked together on the same statement, and the same statement was that there should be more education for doctors. We should have more access to this information direct from the innovative companies. You know, there shouldn't be any regulation stopping this flow of information. There should be a super highway. We should know what is coming out. We're not advertising medicines, we're not advertising this, but we are putting forward the technology and putting forward what it is and making sure that they make an informed decision together. So we called it a push and pull. The idea was that the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors push the message to push the need for these medicines and technologies, and patients pull it. You know, I can write a letter to my member of parliament and say, why am I not getting this? You know, what is stopping you from giving me this? And then he has to approach the health minister and then to the treasury and say, my patients are saying this. If you don't provide this, I will lose the vote next election. So we are voters as well. And it's very important to remember that we can influence that way as well. So we pull, they push. And together, I think it's like almost a mule in when you see Latin America, especially when I travel in Peru and the islands, I'm always interested to stop and watch how they persuade a mule to move. It is very interesting. Please stop. Always look at that and see how the good rider edges the mule together, and very bad owner tries to beat the mule up. The good rider uses a carrot method, slow talking, and the mule behaves. So we need to follow that through that.
Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, because it's an interesting topic about it. I talking.
Yeah.
To easily do the diagnosis and see, okay, this patient is coming to me with these symptoms, so I need to maybe to send directly to the specialist, or maybe I need to be very careful and when I ask the exams or all the tests. So if the physician, the primary care, doesn't have this education, obviously we will be losing time, because they don't know what is happening with the patient. So maybe they say, okay, you need to take this and come back in 3 months, something like that. So we will be losing time with the patient. So from our side, we are working with the scientific society. I am talking, if you permit me, as a pharmaceutical industry, because it's not only MSD. I know that the other companies, the pharmaceutical companies, are trying to do efforts to educate the physician that, as you mentioned, Mayra doesn't have or didn't have the opportunity to go to ASCO, or maybe they don't have the opportunity to be updated, daily updated, as in oncology it happens, that daily is a change, daily you receive a new update. So I think that we are doing our effort to educate physicians. The key is not do it like in a solitary action. We need to work like in a team, like in a cross-functional team, with the medical society, with the people, the key decision makers, and also with the physician. So we are doing that, and I think that could be very key to develop the strategy and to get some result, and the physician can have all this knowledge about this update in the medicine, in the precision medicine area.
Yes, in this line, we have two questions here saying, Maruf Kinjimil, she says, what are the plans for private-public partnership from pharma industry to expedite the access to the precision medicine? How can patients groups collaborate to make it happen? This is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
We need a common agenda, a plan, and we need to develop that across Latin America, for example. I think it would be an amazing opportunity to scale up to other places after that. So I think after this meeting about it, I think we need to sit together. Mela could bring other farmers too, because I think this is not an issue only for MSD. I think everybody would be, and we can work together in partnership with UICC or CCAN, the City Cancer Challenge Project, that MSD and people are together. I think this is interesting. And we have another comment here, very interesting. Does precision medicine have a higher cost? My question is because this can be a limitation for both the patient and the state.
Well, it is. I'm sorry, Kawali. I always interrupt you.
No, sorry. This is my pet subject. What I say to everybody here is that let's not talk about cost. Let's talk about it as an investment, because one of the things we said at WHO was to the ministers concerned that, look, this is an investment. This has got to be done through public-private patient partnership. And therefore, if we thought of it as this way, for instance, let's go back, yeah? When Apple launched its first Apple Mac, those of people who saw it as an investment bought Apple Mac for that reason, and those who thought of it cost did not invest in it. And guess what happened? Within 10 years, economies that had looked at it as an investment, governments who had looked at it as an investment, they shot up. They basically took over most of the companies. Like Amazon came on board, yeah. Travelog came on, all the others came on. Reason? Because we were sleeping. We did not see it as an investment. Everybody thought of it as a cost. So we must look at this as that way, yeah. It's got to be seen as an investment, that is I call it the disruptor technologies. These are special. They're a special breed. They're unlike anything. If it was some other thing, I would say, yes, yeah, maybe we could look at cost. But because these technologies have what is called moonshot, this is like investing in the space program. We will be moonshotting it across. It has got enormous potential for rare diseases. And don't forget, only last 6 months ago, when they said that the pandemic is in control, we were almost finished off as a human race before these technologies came in. Most of what was being used was from precision medicine, precision oncology. Some of the mRNA vaccines, where did they come from? Precisely this. The adenovirus, where was it coming from? This. So therefore, we were saved by this. If you haven't learned that lesson, I think we are for a bad experience if the next pandemic happens. We should be ready for that. Let's invest in these technologies for the sake of being ready for the next pandemic. That's my saying. We will have more centers who can diagnose early, more centers who can diagnose accurately, more centers who can pick up the right patients. And we must look at it as a stratified medicine, as somebody said. Thank you.
And Carmela, I think we have to apologize because we are talking about oncology, but this is a Latin American Patient Congress, and there is a question here from Pilar Arosagaray. I don't know how to say this, but Arosagaray. How can people with diabetes benefit from precision medicine? Can you jump in?
Yes, absolutely, yes. I think that is a very interesting question, and when I was trying to put it, all the information that I can have, I can put it in the time that I had for this presentation. There are many approaches from different areas, not only for oncology, but also for rare diseases, for cardiovascular, and also for diabetes. So there is, the companies are now investing also in different areas, but the critical point here is that we are invested as pharmaceutical company, as the pharmaceutical industry, to try to understand the genomics in a better way in order to offer to many patients, different solutions. So right now, as in the diabetes area, there are many molecules. They are in the development phase, And you will see in the future that we will have many others possibility to treat patients with diabetes. So it's not only for oncology, but obviously because it's with oncology, we have a phrase in with my team when we were talking about our strategies. One of the medical directors told me, listen, we have patient here. We are talking about patient because obviously we are all physicians, and we say the diabetic patient is so important as the oncology patient. So for us, the patients are in the same, line. We are trying to help everybody in the area.
Fantastic.
I don't know, Mayra, if with that I answered the question. I hope.
Yes. I have to say that we are with a very great community listen to us. 210 people are connected to our meeting now.
Yes, Mayra, I would like to add something related with your previous comment about the patient's organization. I think that we have a field to improve our efforts. Last week, a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to be with the patients in Colombia, organization Patient in Colombia, talking about early stages. Was related to oncology, but well, we have it. And in the last week, we had the first meeting with patient organization for Central America. So I think that we need to continue doing that. We need to continue working, and the patients organization need to hide their voices, work with us. We need to find that spaces where we can work together, as you mentioned, in order that we can have help our authority to understand how can they manage their budget, their strategy, all the things, the investment that Carol said before, in order to get more patient benefit for this treatment. Because why is the point to have new molecules? What is the point to have precision medicine if our patients cannot be benefited?
We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Carol. So
I will add. I was just participating in the American Diabetes Society's event, which has just happened last week, and I would signpost you to some of the work presented there. And I think was quite interesting. I think their precision diabetes is almost possible. I mean, even to the point of reviving the pancreas back on. Yeah, we're really looking at some amazing solutions, which is within reach. And the person who said was that we will never have diabetes any longer if we succeed in approaching this solution. So I'm so hopeful for that. Thank you.
I would like to thank you very much, very much. I think it was very enlightening talk to start our meeting. And please stay with us. You guys that are listening to us, stay with us, because the next roundtable is going to be really, really hot. We are going to talk about humanizing healthcare, and not that is something that comes together with precision medicine in a way that is to improve patients' life. Thank you so much, and count on me. I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this excellent presentation. I'm writing some things here, and I have a word, which is efficiency. We should be efficient on our treatments, on the health systems. Everything should be efficient so that we can have an early treatment and we can avoid collateral effects. So thank you so much to the three of you. Now we will have a 5-minute break, and we'll be back at 9:20 a.m. Mexico time to talk about humanizing healthcare in Latin America. And remember that we have the photo booth, so you can take pictures and tag the event if you post them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can use our hashtag LAPC 2022 and Congreso Pacientes Latam. All both shared using the hashtags will be in our social media booth. And we invite you to visit the exposition hall. We have different stalls with a great variety of resources about their work. The stalls are open throughout the Congress and we'll have a live representative so you can chat with them if you have any questions. You can also learn about the work of IAPO members in Latin America through the videos that are going to be available on the auditorium during the break. Thank you all once again and see you back shortly.